Okay, yes.
Hi, I'm the person with the baby.
No, the baby has the name Alaska.
Alaska, yeah. A lot of you in this room know me. I'm on the board of Shelter House. I've taken the NAMI family to family class. You've seen me in Alaska a lot, but you may not know my story. I'll keep it brief. I was born and raised in this community. I have a law degree. I served my country for 26 years as a foreign service officer, and while abroad, I adopted 2 girls and raised them as a single mom. I did the best I could. Alaska, my granddaughter, is my older daughter's baby. I'm raising her because her mom can't. Her mom has a combination of addiction and mental health issues. And as a society, we have failed her repeatedly. Fairfax County Schools in Northern Virginia failed her. Police and juvenile justice in Northern Virginia failed her. Iowa City may have been a different story because they're well trained. Hospital staff where Alaska was born in Maryland failed her. I begged social workers not to release a baby who had to be weaned off Suboxone to 2 recovering addicts living in a motorhome. Hospital staff in Alexandria, Virginia failed her, where my daughter's ex and I tried to get them to hold her for a psych evaluation even after she downed a handful of pills. She's untreated and she loves her daughter very much. I support Alaska. I support my younger daughter who lives with me. I support my daughter on the East Coast, and I do it on a retirement income. I love my granddaughter and I love my daughter. I hate the disease. I had other plans, but life happens. I'm not alone, as you said. There are lots of Alaskas and me's and people like my daughter in this country. I'm fortunate to have the resources and ability to pull it off. As a country and a state and as a community, we must have the resources to deal with dual diagnosis. Rehab cannot cost a fortune and be hundreds of miles away. Law enforcement and those in the judicial system have to be trained. And somewhere, we have to draw the line and be able to mandate treatment. I know that's controversial in a country where we prize civil liberties. But when one person is ill, it doesn't just impact that person. It engulfs an entire family, and it could take that family down too. So thank you for your policy, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Janice. And Alaska is pretty lucky to have you as grandma, so we'll start with that. And you have sacrificed everything. You were foreign service for our country, and now you're still sacrificing. So I want to thank you for that. The idea here is that I can't even imagine what that was like to every time try to fight for your child and know that bad decisions were being made. And what we're trying to do here in a big way is to change so that we make different decisions. And sometimes that starts in small communities like this one, where you acknowledge different decisions have been made with the police chief and others about how to handle cases. And then it also can start at the top by having someone willing to take this on in a big way and being willing to put that money into it. Because a lot of this, when you hear these stories, that there are, I'll keep going to this, only 64 beds for mental health in the entire state of Iowa, it is hard then to get any level of professional, whether it's police, whether it's hospitals, whether it's counselors in a school, to say this is a pretty serious case, we better upgrade how this one's handled when there's no place for them to go. And I think that filters through the entire system when you don't have that kind of help. So I want to thank you so much for sharing this, because that's what this is about as well. If we get these stories out there in a big way, then change happens. And I think you know that. Otherwise, Paul Wellstone, who was a mentor of mine, and I think the best way to describe him was Tom Harkin's best friend in the United States Senate. So he grew up, his brother Stephen was a schizophrenic, and he described it as their house was always dark. Their house was always dark because they didn't want to tell anyone what was going on in that house. And then when they finally got him the help he needed, and he's now functioning, I met their family members that are still around. So obviously Sheila was killed and his daughter Marcia was killed, but the other family members have taken on this cause. And one of the last things that Paul did was to push this bill for mental health parity, and it didn't get passed when he was alive. But then my friends Jim Ramstad, the Republican congressman from Minnesota, former, who's been such an advocate for this, and Patrick Kennedy, were able to push this bill over the line. We got it done about a few years after I got to the Senate, but now we're trying to implement it. And so there's a group of us, and this is, of course, another issue, which is when you have coverage to make sure the insurance companies are actually covering mental health and treating it in the same way, and addiction in the same way that they treat physical problems, right? And that wasn't happening before, and now we have to push them to do it. And Chris Murphy from Connecticut has done a lot of work, and I just talked to him Thursday on the Senate floor about this. And he hopes to get a bipartisan bill in the next few weeks to push that as well. So it is a combination of things, and I am sorry all of this happened to you, but I am glad that Alaska is here and that she's on your back, as heavy as it must be by now. So thank you.